My name is Dr. Saurabh Kapoor, advocate practicing before the Supreme Court of India and Delhi High Court. I am the instructor at Lex Imperium Academy, where we guide law students and lawyers for international legal qualification, including the solicitor qualification examination. Today, we will discuss tort law basic, which is an important subject tested in SQE1 FLK1, functional legal knowledge 1. Before starting the technical discussion, let us first understand a simple question. What is tort? Word tort comes from the Latin word tortum, which means a wrongful act. In simple terms, a tort is a civil wrong which causes harm or loss to another person and gives rise to legal liability. Unlike criminal law, the purpose of tort law is not punishment but compensation to the injured party. Part 1. Purpose of tort law. The law serves several important purposes in legal system. First, compensation. If a person suffers harm because of another person wrongful conduct, the law provides a remedy in the form of damages. Second, deterrence. Tort law discourages individuals from acting negligently and or recklessly hurt justice and fairness. The law ensures that a person who caused harm is held responsible. A simple example will help you understand this. Suppose a driver drives a car carelessly and hit a pedestrian. The pedestrian suffers injury and financial loss. Under tort law, the injured person can file a civil claim and seek compensation for damages. Difference between tort and contract. Students often confuse tort law and contract law. Let us understand the difference. In contract law, obligations arises from an agreement between parties. In tort law, obligation arise from duty imposed by law. For example, if a shop sells you a defective product, it may be both a breach of contract and a tort of negligence or product liability. First, tort law protects people even when no contract exists between them. Key elements of tort liability. For a tort claim to succeed, certain elements must be established. These includes duty of care, breach of duty, caution, damage. Let us briefly understand each of these. Duty of care. The first requirement is that the defendant must owe a duty of care to the claimant. This concept was famously developed in the case of Ronocchio versus Stevenson. In this case, a woman drank ginger beer which contained a decomposed snail. She became ill and sued the manufacturer. The court held that manufacturer owed a duty of care to consumers. From this case came the famous neighbors principle. According to this principle, you must take responsible care to avoid acts or omissions that may harm your neighbors. And in law, your neighbor means any person who may reasonably be affected by your action. Breach of duty. The second requirement is breach of duty. This occurs when a person fails to act according to the standard of a responsible person. For example, if a driver ignores traffic signal and cause an accident, this may amount to breach of duty. The court evaluates breach based on factors such as likelihood of harm, seriousness of risk, cost of precaution. Caution. The third element is caution. The claimant must prove that the defendant breach actually caused the damage. These are two commonly applied. First, factual caution. This uses the but for test. But for the defendant action, would the harm have occurred? If the answer is no, the caution is established. A legal questions. The law also examines whether the harm was reasonably foreseeable. This concept was discussed in the case of the wagon bond. The court held that a defendant is only liable for reasonable or foreseeable damage. The final requirement of damage or loss. Tort law requires actual harm to occur. This harm may include physical injury, property damage, financial loss. Without damage, a tort claim generally cannot succeed. For Part 4, Types of Torts. In SQE1, several important torts are tested. The most common include negligence. This is the most frequently tested tort. Negligence occurs when a person fails to take reasonable care, causing harm to another. Nuisance refers to interference with a person's enjoyment of property. For example, excessive noise, pollution, or smoke from a neighboring property. Trespass involves unlawful interference with land, court, or the person. Trespass can occur even without proof of damage. Part 5. Remedies in tort law. Once liability is established, the claimant may obtain remedies. The most common remedy is damages, which means financial compensation. Damages may include compensation for injury, medical expenses, loss of income. Court may also grant injunction to prevent caution harm. Importance. Part 6. Importance of tort law in SQE1. Tort law is a core subject in SQE1 FLK1. Students should focus on negligence principles, duty of care test, caution rules, offenses in tort. In SQE exam, the questions are often scenario-based MCQ where you must apply legal principle to practical situation. Conclusion. To summarize today's lecture, tort law deals with civil wrong that cause harm to individual. The essential element include a duty of care, breach of duty, caution, damage. Understanding these principles will help you answer many questions in SQE1 examination. In the next lecture, we will discuss negligence in detail, including important cases and exams technique. If you want structured guidance for the SQE preparation and international legal career, you may contact with Lex Imperium Academy. I am Dr. Saurabh Kapoor, advocate practicing before the Supreme Court of India and Delhi High Court, and I regularly conduct lectures on SQE, international legal qualification, and Supreme Court practice. Thank you.